Hey, Decathlon Gamer, welcome back to Vicky 3. This is episode 41. So I look back at the last video to find where this revolution came from, and there is a 2-minute stretch where I didn't see it. I didn't notice it, but it came on extremely suddenly. So one of those movements like this enact universal suffrage had low support, low radicalism. The radicalism was 8 one day. The next day, it was 140. In less than 2 minutes, we had revolution. I was in the middle of a task that was involving checking some things, and I was busy doing that task, and just in the process of that task, it happened. Just in that short little period of time. It went from, it wasn't growing dissent. It was instant from whatever to half the country decides it's going to war over it. I do not like how it is so sudden. I mean, radicalism is not something that happens. There was no incident that triggered it. There was no smoking gun, right? It was just 1 second. Radicalism was 8. The sport didn't change at all, but the next second it was 140. Just absolutely instantaneous, and that feels completely wrong. Now, I understand that an event can trigger outrage. Roe v. Wade, out of absolute nowhere, is suddenly overturned, and that's going to trigger outrage. That outrage is going to increase radicalism, and almost instantly. There wasn't even an event, and even then it only increased by so much because people were already pretty firm on their feelings, and those feelings didn't just suddenly change, right? That, I think, is a major game flaw that needs to be addressed. But in my fury, it doesn't change the fact that we are about to lose in 1913 and no longer exist, because communist America is going to lose. I mean, we are up in this war, but not for long, because we are in default. And every day we are losing 1/10 to 2/10 of our offense and defense throughput. The only solution is to declare bankruptcy. And declaring bankruptcy, we're at 24% right now. It comes with 50% negative, and we are going to be behind. We are going to be losing this war well before that happens. I think one of the only things I could do is I could try to shift a force here quickly and take some territory as just a sneaky play. Do we even have more? I mean, why not, right? If we have more. Oh yeah, we do. We have tons more. We're going to put them on this front and hope that before they get any units on that front, we can take that territory. Because literally our only chance is to win this war. It's game over if we lose. It's that simple. So as bad as the economy is, as big of a problem as the economy is, our only chance is to take some territory. There you go. So we're going from a equal war score, where we were actually ever so slightly behind, to now we're going to start coming out ahead. We're going to take over the lead in this war score. Oh, I love it. Okay. Please, of course. Let's take the -1 though. I'll take the -1. It's going to cut down on the bureaucracy a little bit. Now it's just Quebec. Oh gosh, they have a ton of forces on their way. How do they have a ton of forces on their way? I think they are backing down because they are having similar kind of problems that we are having. They seem to have less units than they had before. Kind of across the board. They're putting up a fight there now, but the big key is that we are gaining. Oh, come on, the Ripper. Every time you form a new nation, the Ripper event re-triggers. It's already the third time we've had that in this playthrough. We don't need to actually take any more territory. We need to stop them from advancing. There it is. Oh, they have capitulated. So they got desperate. They caved. Okay. Well, first thing, the playthrough has not ended. We have survived. We have survived. They caved. We beat the United States. And we are now the United Syndicates of America. But here's the real problem. A, we're still in default. B, we're still going to have a nasty negative balance. And we're still going to have to subsidize everything. And while we're in default, we can't turn construction back on to fix industries. But with everything reunited, industries should start up again. Right now, I'm going to do everything in my power to not declare bankruptcy and hold on for a little bit. Here's what happens if we do declare bankruptcy. Minus 50% offense, defense, prestige, plus 50% loan interest rate, and minus 50% state construction efficiency. If we can get industries going again, feed all those industries and see the economy recover, if we could start to make up any money whatsoever, we will fight our way out of this. Or we'll end up declaring bankruptcy, but we'll still have a huge negative balance, and that's going to be the problem. The $35 million in credit, poof, gone. But how do you get things going? We've still got to get things going. Let's see if we can get things at least going before we declare bankruptcy. Now, the best thing by far about the change we just made is the reputation part is gone. We are no longer a pariah. We're coming back together, but we are much weaker than what we were. This is going to be a mess again. This is going to be an absolute mess again. Not too bad, actually. Coal mines. It's one of the first ones. Let's see what's going on here. Why did it have zero productivity, right? Oh, and already. The Herrero land. They've got something going on with that one. Let's let them get their claim, because that keeps triggering over and over and over again. Right? We have employment. We have resources. Yet productivity is zero. And it says we're producing 418 coal. Is the productivity zero because we're not exceeding the subsidization level? Like, it's not high enough. We're only making 4.1, but spending 6.8. That could be why productivity is seen as zero, even though it's still producing goods. Let's get into the market. As we're seeing a big event down there, we'll find out what's going on with that shortly. Ironclads are an issue, but otherwise, yeah, the economy seems to be going again. Grain and services. Coal was a problem. Coal's too high actually now. All right, we don't have much of a choice. We need to try to get things stabilized. So government and military wages, turn those down. That deficit is not as bad anymore. It's still minus 400,000. And if the economy can kickstart somehow, we're not that far away from a positive balance. And you can see daily it's getting better. Down to 283. Bureaucracy is a definite waste. I mean, we've got 11% tax waste. The unrealized taxes is at 58,000. It's down to 232. The economy does appear to be stabilizing bit by bit. I had noticed the worker cooperative was definitely a good thing, so let's flip to that. So all of these zeros aren't necessarily zero because they're doing nothing. That was that big takeaway. Okay, diesel pump. Of course, while we are losing money, we are triggering negative events. kind of go hand in hand. Still working on things with the economy. At the moment, the numbers look worse, but I do think a lot of them are going to start ticking in the right direction. So many industries were just changed automatically, but the options are still there, and the finances are so much better when turned up overall. There's some give and take on the upfront as you're making the choices, but you can see, most of the big choices, the actual production method is going to come with a lot of additional funding. I haven't quite finished tweaking everything, but my oh my, are we closer. We are now just looking at a 25,000 deficit, but of course that credits up to over 50 million now. The unrealized taxes are still high enough that we would actually be making profit if it weren't for it. But we're getting closer. Closer to seeing a profit. Of course, there's no construction happening. I mean, there's a lot of negatives here, but the economy is starting to balance out. Oil is one we clearly need more of. Positive balance. We have done it. We've made a positive balance. We're finding a way to make this thing work. It's just tweaking things the right way. There's still a lot of zeros, but so much of that is coming down to the subsidy side of things. So meanwhile, we have restored our number one rank, 3,800 in prestige. Austria is having their own issue right now. GDP at the moment well ahead. Strong number one. Standard of living is actually higher than where we left it, and the population is now grown to 81 million. We are still having a major bureaucratic shortfall that definitely needs addressing. But in the short term, fixing this balance obviously is something that needs to continue on. We're up to a plus 92,000, but it's rough. Now, we have zero infamy right now, so I'd actually love to start making up some ground in that department, but we can't afford to just yet. All right, I'm going to inch my way forward on various topics to not have everyone, lead to another civil war kind of thing. It looks like we're now able to get the government military wages turned back to normal, so there's one step. We definitely want to get the taxation level turned down here at some stage, but in the meantime, a huge credit problem. Interest is 50,000, so yeah, we need to fix that. But we're not talking about massive taxation, right? I mean, the income taxes is only 250,000. I think we're only going to drop. It would drop by 120. Bureaucracy is getting better as we've turned it back up, so there's something with that. All right, we're going to turn it down one level. I feel like I'm starting to get more at grips with the economy. It takes a lot of playthroughs. The old saying of, if you've played Europa Universalis 4 for 1,000 hours, you finally can play the game. Not you're good at the game, not you're a pro at the game. You're finally good enough to even just handle the game. I'm starting to feel Vicky 3, right? I can start to handle the game. We're nowhere near 1,000 hours yet. All right, let's see what happens if we unpause. Can we resume? Ugh, big old negative again. But of course we can turn it back up. We could turn this back up, and that will cover that off. All right, so here's the good news. We have just about got the economy kind of back where it was. Those subsidies are expensive. Now it's at 230,000, so it's a lot of extra to cover off, and we definitely haven't got ourselves back where we want to be. I mean, we'd lose 365,000, so we need at least another 300,000 to really make up for that. But of course, then we also have that the interest, right? That's part of why we have the numbers we have. But we are in a state where I think we could just about start to get away with starting to be aggressive because we have 0 infamy, so we could take something, like a Brazil. But what's happened to our military force? We're back to a 3,000. Okay. Back to a 3,000, sure. All right, so Mexico right now is the easiest target for us, as there was no interest from anyone other than Spain. We know we can beat Mexico, Colombia, and we can beat Spain. So we're going to start by finishing the conquering of Mexico. Let's do it. And here's a new first. While we are still escalating towards war with Mexico, they have not backed down at this stage, and I have a feeling they might. But production tech, the tree is complete. We are really getting close to the end of this. We got 20 years to go still in the playthrough. Military-wise, we have 4 categories left: aircraft carriers, modern battle fleet, tactics, mobile armor, and stormtroopers. Stormtroopers already on its way towards being done. So I'm kind of letting that one tick on its own. And then as for society, we're actually down to just 1 here as well. So let's go ahead and finish that. Macroeconomics. And I think at this rate, that means we are guaranteed we are going to finish the tech tree. So that was one of my goals here of the playthrough, and we are getting into the later phase of this war, and they back down. Okay, so we take 1 state, and that's okay, because that's going to back us back down to just 31, instantly ticking down. So from there it becomes rather easy to just kind of get on with your next project. Speaking of next project, we're at 117,000 now, so if you think we need to take a level off of that. 47 million on the credit, by the way. There we go, positive balance. And for our next play, we are looking at Argentina, so getting kind of back into South America. Austria could be involved in the play. That is the thing. British Republic have restored some strength, but Austria, only 230 units right now. They are down a lot from what they had. I think they are still reeling from the previous war. Yeah, they're weaker than we are right now, so they are not turned up quite as high as we are. So they did lose some units. All right, I've added the war goals to annex all of Argentina. It's actually parts of 4 states that they have. Majority would be to take this one, though, so that would leave them with just there's those 2 little pockets, 2 tiny little states, plus a bit of that state. We'll have clear advantage. I have a feeling a lot of our enemies right now are going to back down one by one, so we're going to kind of take 1 state from like each of the South American enemies, and if they stand up and want to fight, then there's your infamy directed at 1 and conquering 1. Now, bureaucracy is still a problem, so let's go ahead and add a little more bureaucracy. No one coming to their aid, so it looks like they're going to be on their own, which makes me think that they are going to back down and concede, but maybe they're fighting for their lives with their 1 unit. At this stage, it looks like that may happen. Or with Argentina has broken out. Well, there you go. They, with their 3 whole units, are trying to hold us off. They decided they wanted to go to war. It's going to make this pretty easy as we go through an election. The Anarchist Society beats the Working Men's Party, so we have a new group that's going to be coming in charge. We'll check on that here momentarily. In the meantime, we are already pulling ahead on the war goal. And I have a feeling we're going to get full capitulation at some stage here. Minus 428. It's going to take a little bit. We're still maintaining a good balance. The bureaucracy part has been fixed. Oh, the good balance is partially because we are not constructing anything. Let's find out what is our big need. Oil. I really honestly thought that we had sabotaged the playthrough, that we were going to lose. This economy just would not work, would not function. When the market reunited, things came back together pretty quickly. Now, we still have a huge deficit. We still have 45 million in credit right now. I mean, that's a big hole that we have dug ourselves. And for now, as we have finished taking Argentina, and their negative balance is getting there quickly enough, we're doing okay on the balance front. You know, we're fixing things, and the GDP is flying. I mean, we're at 468 million. We were at 370, I think, at the start of the war. So we've added 100 million already, quite rapidly. So the GDP is stronger. Just that subsidization part. That subsidization part was tough. Was tough at first, and is still tough, because one thing we have not fixed yet is we still have 2 levels to go to bring this down. That's, 283,000. So okay, fine, 50,000. The interest is down to 43. So eventually that gets paid off. We're talking about 80, 90,000. So 200,000, right? We still need at least 200,000 more in terms of incoming profit. We got a ways to go, but we're getting there. And that's the thing, and that's the unexpected thing. If I'm being honest, I did not think there was a chance. Wheat farms, maize farms. Okay, let's check in on that. Maybe that's still turned down. Nope. It's not doing terribly well, but let's make it do more anyway. All right. Well, the war is done. We have Argentina entirely in our possession now, and so we've got another big chunk. Now, where does that put us, though? We're infamous, but it's still under 50. So actually, it's really not that bad. Really not that bad. Meaning, pretty soon, we can pick another target. Oh boy. Okay, so the revolution had a five-year ticker to it. The 5 years have gone by. So this is the what comes next, and get into some dark stuff here. So Vanguard Party to lead the way, talking about suppression impact on interest group attraction. Hannibal Fry will change ideology to a vanguardist, and it's going to trigger the event, the Great Purge. I mean, that sounds a lot like a Soviet Russia type scenario. They had their own Great Purge. Or power to the councils. Trade unions always selecting communist leaders. Minus 20% bureaucracy institution cost multiplier. So meaning bureaucracy is cheaper for us. Adds our revolution to the journal and the 5-year plans to the journal. That sounds like maybe a good direction to go. Or No Gods, No Masters, Anarchy Forever. Trade unions select anarchist leaders. 100% loyalists from standard of living increases. That's obviously a good thing to make everybody loyal to you. Adds mutual aid or 5-year plans to the journal. Either of the bottom two. The top one sounds like a recipe for disaster, but I think we're going to try the councils. And for my next target, we're going to go after Paraguay. Just kind of rolling up through South America right now. Russia suddenly just decided that they might be interested. They weren't interested just a second ago, but their area interest just became activated. It's semi-okay if these guys end up joining in, just because I think they're never going to really feature in any meaningful way, as we don't have shared borders that matter. And that's it for society. The society tech tree is complete. Military tech tree is all that remains, and we're looking at 4 areas, and one of them is going to complete in 1 to 2 weeks on its own. It looks like Paraguay's decently strong. Not decently. But they do have a tiny bit of strength. They're not nothing. But here comes that whole everybody's mad at us thing. Starting. This is still going to keep us below 100, though. So Paraguay has backed down. They have one little piece of a state left that is in the Brazil area. We don't actually have interest there right now. We're going to have to address that. Let's go ahead and declare interest in this region, and this region, and this region. The once powerful British Republic is now just a 301 army projection with very little navy. Let's go ahead and start chasing them out. We're going to chase them out of Central America first, and then go with Canada from there. Austria may want to intervene in this war, and that, of course, is a challenge. But the infamy just to get Guatemala's quite small. I think before even bothering with Canada, as Canada is a really easy target because of the land border shared, I'd very much like to add the Bahamas and get that off their hands first. We can come for Guyana later, but yeah, I'd like to get the Bahamas. So that is our number 2 target. So far, nobody wanting to join them, but also they're very much not backing down at this point, and they still have a number of subjects, not like they used to. They do still have a wide number of subjects, and combined, oh, never mind, they backed down. Okay, so that is Central America now completely ours, other than Mexico. I wasn't trying to target too much at once. I was trying to get Bermuda, the Bahamas, and the South Atlantic Islands in addition, but that was it. Taking a step at a time with the British Republic. We can go after the rest of that later, because this way, really, we're only looking at a 76. So notoriety is still relatively low. At this stage, it's still pretty easy to continually get after, one enemy after another. Holy crap. I've been recording for a while without any recording. We are at war. Let me catch you up. We're at war, and it's going well, but it's also complicated business. Here is the complicated business that we are facing. We are at war right now with Colombia, as we are trying to make a dent into Colombia. Venezuela joined them, so we have one state of Venezuela and all of Colombia as our war target. But East India Company decided they wanted to join in, as did Austria. So Austria and East India Company have sent a lot of units to the front. What I did was I sent as many units to the front as I could, and then I sent a unit to Africa to take this territory. I took a unit to Africa to take this territory, and then I moved those units to take this territory, and then we did a naval invasion of East Malaya in this territory, and took a little bit of land of each of the 2 main enemies, the 2 primary enemies, the 2 problematic enemies, to get them to pick up some more exhaustion and feel bad about the war, to hopefully get out of the war sooner rather than later. Then I moved all of the units to the front in Colombia and held the line. And they were slightly stronger than us, but not gaining. The line had been very neutral. It was very much a trench warfare type situation. A bunch of them kind of decided they didn't want to be there. Oh, you've got it. We're going to go take a break and go sit this one out. And so then I was like, okay, we're not going defensive anymore. We're going to go offensive. And we've claimed just a little bit of territory, but they're on their way back. Austria has 600 units on their way back. So we're going to flip this back to going defensive, but we've claimed a little territory. The war score is very much ticking in our direction. But now the trick is to get everyone to be, defensive again. The nice thing about that I'm discovering is only one unit is actually, the front active unit at a given time. And a lot of them are still actually set to defensive. There was only a few that were going offensive for a while, and we're down to really just one. So once their current engagement comes to an end, and that unit changing hands again, but that's okay. That land, it's constantly changing hands for whatever reason, even though we're not actually having anything happen. But key thing here is we have got the war score going in our direction, and ultimately we could and should be winning this thing fairly soon. I mean, big old negatives, and we're looking for some big hefty goals. Austria nearly wants out of the war. Venezuela even more so than Colombia, but Colombia's got a while yet because accepting that. There it is, capitulation from Austria, meaning Austria just wants out. They white pieced themselves out of the war, and there is now a huge advantage because East India Company is nowhere near the strength of Austria. They're less than half the strength of Austria. They are about the 3rd or 4th largest strongest military out there right now, but not strong enough. Now, again, after I just changed it, it's time to make everybody go offensive. It looks like we are going to get our peace deal done, not through peace acceptance, not the proper way, but through war exhaustion. They're at a minus 81. So I have a feeling that they're going to time out of this quite soon. Now that could mean Venezuela endures a little bit longer, and we'll have to continue on and invade Venezuela. There's 3 states. We couldn't afford to get the last 2, but we are getting Zulia out of this war. Minus 100. And there it is, capitulation. And as expected, Venezuela still alive in this thing, so we now need to advance that front. But there it is. We've already taken all of Colombia. Now we're going to take a piece of Venezuela as we do begin to properly advance that front as well. East India Company has decided they want no more of this war. So Venezuela is entirely on their own from here. This is going to be very, very easy. More state out of this one. Once that's done, we will check back in and see where we're at. Construction. Oil. Oil is definitely still a major shortage. I mean, we have half of what we need, so and oil pays really well. Let's do a bunch of oil. And there's still a bunch of things that are turned down that need to be turned back up again. And there's the capitulation. We've done it. We managed to beat Austria in a war. Oil rigs. Well, we have made ourselves a pariah now. But we weren't that far from it before. I mean, we were in the 60s. Now we're all 134. So, as we've already seen with that war of aggression topping 100, did give us additional enemies. But we're up to 169 battalions and a 4,100 projection. We're up to a 3,200 projection for the flotillas. I'd like to push that up to about 100. I'd like to push this up to 200 or greater in the near future so that we can really just be an aggressor the last 15 years and see what we can do as well. And there it is, the final tech. We have completed the tech tree. There is nothing left to do. I look forward to, I'm sure there's mods enough out there. I've still been playing vanilla so far. I'd love to get into the mods and see what sort of new tech tree stuff there is. We're not done. Chemical warfare. Sneaky. Okay, so who's next? Ecuador, maybe? Bolivia would join. Brazil and Austria may join. We just beat Austria in war, so it's not something that I'm terribly worried about. We can turn that back down a level. So first war goal to add is the rest of Ecuador, the offshore portion. Okay, Ecuador has backed down. There's that last tech. So now, for real this time, we have actually finished the entire, and there is the achievement for that inventive. Next target is Peru, Bolivia, as we want to take these 3-4 states that block us from connecting with the heart of America. The North Andean secession movement is ongoing, so we have a group that is trying to rise against us, which of course is somebody who we've recently conquered. So that's the downside to having taxes turned up high. There's a lot of radicals. Being aggressive adds to that radicalism, so we are going to face our own little civil war here briefly, which does complicate trying to attack Peru, Bolivia with potential. Right now, Brazil and Austria are both leaning their direction, and joining in at this stage. Right now, with only 3 armies, we've got Peru, Bolivia by itself covered. So we can handle this one as long as there isn't a lot of... Okay, well, Brazil has backed down, so Brazil is out. We're down to just Austria now, and we're adding the final phase. I didn't get a chance to get additional war goals as I was distracted with are they joining or aren't they joining. I'm just going to be connecting this up is all we're going to get out of this war. But bad timing on the location here as that is coming. One to each should do it. We're not messing around. Alright, war with Peru, Bolivia has broken out and we are instantly on the advance. Take a little while to stabilize that one, but the Peru, Bolivia one is very much going our way and they didn't get support, so that's going to make that rather easy to get the goals that we set out. Oh, the secession war itself has not broke out just yet. That's why they're not advancing, and we'll be here quite soon. Venezuela siding with them. 1922. I'm starting to like our chances. Once again, I liked them before, and then I don't like them, and then I like them, and then I don't like them. But I'm liking our chances of uniting all of the Americas under our banner. All right, and the uprising, that's happening at the same time. There's multiple fronts here. We don't have control of all of them, especially with Venezuela joining in. So Venezuela is going to start to advance on us, and so that's going to be a little bit tricky. Meanwhile, that other war strongly in our favor right now. There we go, traveling back to headquarters. We'll put them on that front to counter these guys. They should be there quickly. Yeah, just 12 days, and they'll start to counter what's happening there. Meanwhile, the uprising itself, we've already conquered half the territory. Two fronts have now combined as they're closing off. They do have one little pocket left there, and we're looking at a big negative war score down here already, so that's going to go our direction relatively soon. Speaking of, we want to conquer. They're at a minus 199. But while our war score is not perfect here because they did take a little bit of our land, Venezuela did, they're already down to an 8. And you can see we're actually taking territory away from Venezuela themselves now. Very much like to get our land back so that our ticking war score goes back to a small gain. Alright, there is that capitulation. And that's both wars done, and that is us united tip to tip. From the Aleutians all the way down to the southern tip of South America. That's huge. I mean, that is an absolute huge milestone for us. But we're not done yet. We got 13 years, and I am greedy. Very greedy in this playthrough anyway. Let's get on with the project, huh? Well, Peru, Bolivia is back down to just Bolivia. We, as pariahs, are up to a 214. I thought maybe there'd be a higher level at this stage. There isn't. We're just a pariah. We're up to 12 million radicals. Gotta watch out for that one. But we are also up to 95 million people. Well, our next target, the Amazonian region of Brazil, Guarapara, is very weak. Venezuela is their ally, but Venezuela is also very weak, especially after 2 wars with. There's a whole bunch of nations that might be interested in joining, though, of course, and that always complicates things, and the more aggressive we are, the more likely they are to want to join. But if we're going to be taking over all of the Americas, we've got to just keep on going. So, there's one. There's another. Venezuela has abandoned them, at least for the time being. Good sign for us that the actual ally backs down, because then it makes them look weak, which makes other countries less likely to want to intervene and join. So, adding some more goals. That's only 2 states. This whole thing is only 2 states. Uruguay has sided with them. That's good, because now we can add Uruguay as a target. The British Republic has sided with them. Alright. I guess now's a good time to get after Guyana. The war is definitely escalating with the addition of the British Republic and of Uruguay, but as long as Austria doesn't side with them, which they are leaning their way, we're looking pretty dang good for taking a large number of war goals in this war. I do have additionals that I could go after, like Bermuda, the Bahamas. Now in its current state, this is a war I'm really excited to have, because it's a war that we're going to win. It's a war that we're going to claim a lot of territory on. If Austria joins, then we have complications, but they back down. So Guadalajara has given us the Amazon region. That's okay. That's okay that they back down. I mean, we already got the pariah thing. We've got that one in the bag. That's us. But right now we are taking one state at a time, or occasionally a little bit more than that when they decide they want to put up a fight. So gains, I mean, this is incredible, the rate of gain that we have right now. The economy is both good and not good, and we still have, we're still 2 levels higher than we want to be taxation wise, and we're talking about 330 decrease. The credit almost paid off all of that credit, so we are nearly there. We can just about afford to turn down to the medium taxes. Almost. For one, I want to get that credit paid off. Two, the balance is, if it was 200 plus, I think I'd be happy to turn that down one more level. So we're close. And with, the economy continually growing, that should happen fairly soon. Fairly soon. One major concern is we're going to face more and more revolutions. Not massive national revolutions, but minor revolutions, minor states, recently conquered states, because we're suddenly at 11.8 million radicals. And while some of that drops away, because only the landowners and the rural folk don't like us right now, we're looking, most of that is recently conquered South American territories that are wanting to rebel. So that's the other thing about the rapid expansion is, you're going to face larger and larger enemies. But as we're seeing, they aren't suddenly crazy powerful or anything like that. We're still much stronger than them when they rise up against us, as long as they don't all come in united. But man, oh man, are we? We're getting there. We are getting there. But can we do the job in 13 more years? That's a big if. But I'm liking the challenge. I'm liking that we're still alive in the challenge, and that we, as the United Syndicates of America, are painting the map blue. And Decathlon Gamer, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there, and bye for now.